As more people now feel pressured to return to the office after 2 years of working from home, I'm starting to notice some patterns emerging, most of them having to do with those interpersonal dynamics in the workplace. So, a client recently shared with me this breakthrough moment. This woman, whom I love to death, she's a high-level executive at this Fortune 500 company, and she's returned to the office to discover a not-so-positive trend. Her coworkers are, bitching and complaining about work things without any action towards improvement. My client, for the first time, chose not to commiserate in the belly aching with her peers. Instead, she kept herself grounded and focused in calm AF energy. And she did this so well that people actually asked her if she was okay or if something was wrong. And her answer was, nothing's wrong. I'm just focusing on what I need to do. And it changed the entire dynamic of the room for the better. People stopped whining. They got back to work. They themselves took on her calm AF energy. It was a huge win for her. And she reached out to me to share the good news. Because I don't just coach my clients through the rough patches. I also work with them and coach them through the good stuff, because it reinforces the concepts we're working on. This was my reaction to her celebration story, and I hope it helps you too.
Here's why that matters. When you are the one in the room who is staying grounded, right? Like everyone else's energies are starting to go up and be frenetic and chaotic and panicky or negative or going real low and, like the Eeyore vibes. When you are the one that is able to maintain that calm energy, that just like grounded neutral energy of like, I'm just here, and you don't feel the need to meet either way, either go up and meet the frantic or go down and meet the Eeyore. When you're able to just kind of like stay in that sweet spot on the teeter-totter right in the middle, what happens because of the way energy works, because energy is always interacting with other energy, is that energy always tries to sync up. Like, those TikTok clocks, what are they called? Grandfather clocks with the things, right? Like you put them all in a room and eventually they will all sync up. And it's the same thing in a group. It's the same thing when you're with other people. Is like whichever energy is the strongest, everyone's going to try and like collaborate to that frequency. And it doesn't always happen immediately, right? It doesn't always happen, but it's like you just need one person who stays in that place where people want to kind of like bring themselves to start making a change in those rooms. And I remember doing this, like when I first started teaching or when I was working in the schools as a speech pathologist, our team, they gave us I don't know why, but they gave us our own big classroom and our whole team had desks in there. And so it totally ended up being like one person would come in and complaining, right? And it would just like, you would watch the whole room would just adapt to it. And then all of a sudden, like I was in a fine mood and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, and another thing, right? Like I just like, you join into it. And I just remember often I would notice, because I'm like really in tune with my energy, is like I would notice after lunch, my afternoons felt really hard. Like I was really annoyed. Whoever I had after lunch, poor thing, was like, they got the grumpiest, worst version of me. And I remember thinking like, this isn't fair for them. I still need to be in this classroom in my office, like getting shit done. And so I remember just doing kind of what you did, is like, I'm just going to stop participating in it. I'm not going to include myself in the conversation. I'm just going to kind of stay on my own. I'm going to do my own thing while they're having this conversation. And it was amazing to watch, like after a while of me not participating, people would be like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, no, I'm just doing my thing, just kind of like being my own person and doing my own thing. And eventually I started noticing that more people were doing that, right? Like that there were two people who just really loved to bitch in the office, and they just kind of did their own thing. And the rest of us just kind of stopped. And so I'm not saying I controlled that energy, but it's infectious, right? Like energy is contagious. When I am not being bothered and I am, feeling calm and I'm staying calm, it started like other people wanted to match my energy. And so I just think what you're doing will snowball. It will snowball because energy always tries to match up to whatever's the strongest energy in the room. And this is what I'm always talking about with energy managers, where you're trying to go to their level and bring them down, right? It's like, let me go and fix this. Let me go put out this fire. Let me go and do this, instead of you doing all of that work, which you can't control, right? Like we think we can, and in some ways we can influence, for sure. We can influence other people's moods by how we show up, and we can try and control them in that way so that they act the way we want them to, or they're in the mood we want them to be in. But it's like, do you want to do that forever? Is that the thing you want to do for the rest of your life, is make sure that this person's always in a good mood by you adapting your life around it? And so when you realize that the only thing you can control is your energy, and you get really like solid in it, you know how to get yourself calm, you know how to get yourself to the place of, I'm fine, I'm okay here. It just does it. Like you manage your own energy, and it's much easier for other people to kind of try and match yours than for you to go out there and try and change theirs, because that's the only thing you can control, right? It's like actually stopping the insanity cycle of running around trying to control everybody's moods and feelings and thoughts, right? It's not working. It feels like it's working. And sometimes, like I said, you can influence, like people are like, but I do know. And I'm like, yeah, totally. Like I know how to set up my house so that everyone's in a blissful mood. Right? I know how to walk in a room and make sure everybody feels great and happy and amazing. I know exactly how to do that. I'm really good at it. And like, that makes me always the one who's having to do that for the rest of my life. I'm like, I just don't want that. I'm not interested. And still, even though I can influence the mood and the thoughts and the feelings, I'm not actually controlling them, because at the end of the day, they always are in control of their thoughts. They are always in control of their feelings, and they are always in control of their moods, not me, as much as I like to think I am.